My name is Stephen and this is my channel, Heart's Delight Exports. So over here we have my potatoes and some variety of wild kale. Those long yellow stalks, they have nice little purple and green leaves to them, and they've been okay. I don't know where I got them from. I think they were mixed in with some batch of manure at some point that I got to fertilize the garden. And they've just been sprouting up the last couple of years all on their own. Here in the middle bed, it's overflowing with turnip greens. Unfortunately, a lot of them are slug infested, and a lot of slugs been eating the greens. You can only just barely see carrots coming up through. So I have some carrots coming up through, and they look like maybe they're going to do okay. At least the ones that I'm getting might prove to be all right. Turnips and carrots seem to be doing fairly well here. The potatoes are coming up very well. I hope that means for nice potatoes under the ground. I have planted a small amount of parsnip here in this general area. I didn't see one of them come up after. I can't tell if the birds ate them or if something else got to them or what. Here's one of my tomato plants. They're doing okay, but as you can tell, there's not exactly a lot of tomatoes on there, and there's more weeds in the bucket than anything else. This was a pepper plant. It's been chewed down by some nasty little creature. This is more of my tomato plants in these potting buckets. I think I'm going to try to use these a bit more next year, but I think I need to cut the holes larger so that they get a bit more area to grow out of. But this guy in particular is fairly large. I think he might be starting to root to the ground there somewhere. But he's looking pretty good. I just don't see any amount of tomatoes. Greenhouse is currently not in use. I've actually emptied out whatever was left in there and transplanted it out into the garden so that it would have a better chance of living, because whatever's in the greenhouse this year has just not been doing well. So these are my green beans. I have some coming out. They're very small at the moment, so hopefully they'll start plumping up. I have green peas coming up here and some more beans mixed in with them, but for some reason the beans in this planter have been eaten over a lot. This compost bin, my washer compost bin, is filled to the brim, and so is this one. This is the one that I'm currently working on, and it's getting halfway or so. It's going to get filled up pretty quick. And here in this bed, I started planting all kinds of things because I've had terrible luck with pumpkins, and I figured I wouldn't get anything out of those. And I was proven at least partially wrong, in that I got lots of vines. I just don't seem to be getting any pumpkins. But on this plant, you can see a few little golden zucchinis. Those are doing much better. I'm very happy and impressed with them, and I think I'll give them a try again next year if we turn out to like them a lot. You can also see some in this one. There's a few golden zucchinis down there. I planted the extra tomatoes. I planted the extra turnips in here, and some of those are getting some decent size. And my peas are growing up higher than my gate that I use for a trellis, which is very good. They're coming out very nice and plump. You can see some bare spots here because I've harvested the garlic only today. and the pumpkins and the few potatoes that I put in there to fill the spaces in between, they haven't quite taken over yet. Now you can see here some of the turnips that I've harvested today. I was looking to make some space. I sowed them very thick, thicker than I should have. So these guys were some of the biggest that were also crowding everything else out. With these guys removed, I should be able to see at least a little bit more growth in some of the garden. And this is a new pot that I have filled this year, and I have parsnip in here, hoping that that'll come along well. Thanks to one friend of mine, I also had a bunch of extra potatoes that I planted in buckets out here behind the shed, because I had honestly filled up most of what I could do already. So I have all these buckets filled up with potatoes, and the plants seem to be a little small, but one container that I've already checked so far seemed to have at least one nice sized potato into it. So if that's all I got out of it, I'd be happy with that. This is one of my flower pots because I valued pollinators in the garden. These are gladioles, so these will flower out and nice large trumpet flowers, and the bees should be happy with them. There's some weeds in this one, but there's also a lot of wildflowers over in this pot with the gladioles, and they're doing quite well. There's also a large spider right there. He's also enjoying things. Now here's the garlic that I pulled today, and I think that this one is by far the biggest one. I've only just pulled them out this afternoon, so they're going to take a while to dry out. They're only out here for today. I'll put them in the basement later so that they can dry and, you know, pull all the moisture back from these long stalks. All these stalks will shrivel up and dry up, and all the moisture will go back to the bulb. That's a good and important thing. So these are more of the potatoes I planted in containers. This is the one I've actually checked. I've disturbed the dirt to see if I could see a potato, and there's at least one in there that's the size of my hand. It's a pretty good size. So this is my old garbage box. I planted it with some Tokyo bunching onions here I got from the Dollarama. That didn't turn out to be such a great thing. There's beets on this side and that side. I've planted lettuce in here twice in this area, and I got nothing. Literally nothing. I don't know if our little buddy over there, the sparrow, ate it all, or if they just didn't come. But this is also a Tokyo bunching onion, and I'm going to harvest this guy soon and use them up. But they're a variety of green onions. This is more of that wild kale. Don't know how it got into the mix into my garden, but it's there and it seems to be intent on staying. One of my tomatoes that was in the garden is growing up here. I've wrapped it around a bit of a stick trellis just to get something for it to grow against. But I think I kept it in the greenhouse too long, and it's just not doing well enough. The other addition to the garden for this year that I'm very happy about and seems to be doing very well with so far is a strawberry patch. You can see I have a bunch of containers around. These were all bought from a local U-Pick strawberry patch. They were selling 25 plants for $10. Now you can see the nice fairly orderly lines that I put in, and then I got nothing, and I got two, so I had some that didn't come up at all. And for a hastily built patch, maybe I should have expected that. But I have a container here, containers here. Every one of these plants seemed to be intent on putting out runners as quick as they could. Some of these guys put out runners before they had even been well established themselves. And you can actually see in a couple of cases here, this guy put out a runner that I put in a container here, and he's got a couple of more nodes that I could try to put in containers, and I will try to put in containers soon. This guy's still working on growing a root. You can see a couple of roots coming off the bottom of this one, but he hasn't quite developed enough to actually be able to put into the ground yet. The goal is to get him to root into these containers well enough that I can clip off the runner and move the plant to further back in some of the holes back here. I don't want this bed to be too thick this year, but next year I'm thinking that I'm going to expand it over on this side, and that we'll have more strawberries growing than maybe anything else. This is another video finished. I hope you come back and see me again when I'm out in the garden, in the shop, in the kitchen, doing something of interest to you. Have a good day.